difficult for me at my age. But when I get time, I like to go out and do that. So I've been an NRA life member, and am a life member, and been involved in supporting Second Amendment stuff for a long time. Those of you that are familiar with the gun issues, we just had an ammo registration thing that was a terrible thing last year. I was one of the few in the sheriffs in the state that was pro-gun enough to stand opposite that and go in written form, and I've actually stood for the thing that's going to repeal that law. The CCW issue goes with that. And just real quick,
One more.
I'm going to get gapped here.
Finish this and we'll get
The CCW issue comes up quite a bit. Big difference between the carry concealed weapon and the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment, and unless you're prohibited statutory for certain types of crimes from possessing a gun, which there are a number of crimes now that in California you can't even own or possess a gun regardless. But short of that, for most citizens, there is no issue about keeping a firearm in your house or carrying a firearm concealed in your house loaded or in your place of business. The problem is, and why you need a carry concealed weapon, is if you're going to transport it in a vehicle, loaded and concealed, or if you're going to go into the market or the theater, that sort of thing. And so the department has liberalized its CCW policy, but it does require an articulation of it. But the reason I mention this is you get a lot of people that mix up Second Amendment owning a gun, like the question was, with carrying a concealed weapon. Those are two different issues, and I'm pro owning a gun, and I'm also pro for legitimate citizens for good reason to have a concealed weapon.
Why did it have to be concealed?
Well, okay, one more follow-on question here. Why do they have to be concealed? Because in California, those of you that, are somebody familiar with the open carry stuff? Okay. Now, here's the issue, and I go and talk to a lot of shooting groups and so on, and I've collected some firearms over the years and some very nice ones, and think about what I'm going to say. In California, you can carry a weapon openly displayed. Now, stick with me here. When some citizen, guns now entice a lot of adrenaline and excitement. When we get a call, think about what logically occurs when somebody sees somebody else carrying a gun, particularly with all the problems we've had across the country with somebody going off in a blaze of glory. They pump up a dispatcher. The dispatcher is going to send it to an officer that has no knowledge of the individual. The officer is going to use a great considerable caution. Man or woman with a gun is one of those high adrenaline events that go through. Now bear in mind, carrying a weapon not loaded but publicly exposed is not illegal. But I'm telling you, it gets everybody's attention, John Q. Citizen. So the call goes into dispatch, gets routed to officers. That's going to have a very heightened state. Those officers are going to come there. Every department, including my own, is going to end up bending over backwards that they use all due safety because they're all paid to go home at the end of the shift and not in a box. Too many of them are being killed across this country, and most of those deaths are at the hands of firearms. So what's going to happen to the individual that does that? We have lawful authority to check to see where that weapon's